Hey guys, this is James from Man Tripping, and we're here at a special Kentucky Derby themed show. Normally, we would be celebrating Kentucky Derby in the summer, but this is not a typical year. But we are able to have some great bourbon from Woodford Reserve. Now, for those of you who don't know, Woodford and I have a very special partnership that extends typically at 30,000 feet up in the air because I enjoy Woodford as my go-to drink every time I fly American Airlines, and normally that's more than 50,000 miles a year, except for this year, where I'm probably going to only cap out at not even the normal equivalent of gold. But that's fine because now I've got a regular bottle, not those airplane bottles. But anyhow, enough of my love for Woodford. We got a great show coming up. We have, well, you know what? Instead of me telling you guys what we have coming up, why don't I pass it over to Kevin, who is the maestro of parties, and he can tell us all about the great lineup we have today. So, Kevin, what's going on today?
Well, first of all, yes, Woodford Reserve. We are making a $1,000 mint julep with the Woodford representative, who's going to be our mixologist for the day, along with, of course, bartender Gabby from a regular virtual happy hour show, soon to be joining us, Pub Club at Ashley. And we've got a couple of Jacks with us. We've got Jack Fleming, who is he's gone to photographer for the Kentucky Derby infield for PubLab.com. So he's been to the Derby a few times and can provide us with that great information. And we've got Colonel Jack Tingley, a Louisville native and veteran who has been, I don't know how many Kentucky Derby Jack's been to, but he is an expert on what's going on at the Derby. He's going to give us some really cool inside stuff. Tom from bourbonblog.com, of course, he has to be on, and he lives, you have to tell us, maybe an hour or so from Louisville. And we also have on, I think the way to start the show, you can't start a Kentucky Derby show, of course, without the mint juleps, and also without the song of the Kentucky Derby. And we have on Nashville recording artist and Louisville native Andrea Goodman, who's going to start off with the song. Jack Tingley says we have to stand up and put our hand over our heart. Is that right, Jack? She's going to start off our Kentucky Derby show with the song, and it's My Old Kentucky Home. So take it away, Andrea.
All right. Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. The summer is fading away. The corn tops right and the meadows are in bloom, while the birds sing music all the day. The young oaks roll on the old cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard times knocking on the door in my old Kentucky home. Good night. So weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
Ah, perfect. You know, I was watching us. I was getting fired up yesterday. I've talked to Andrea, and I was watching, some of the YouTube videos of starting out the Kentucky Derby, and the horses coming out, and then they stop and play that song. And I was like, I'm so stoked to have you on the show playing that. She's actually on her way right now to a gig in Louisville, right?
Well, no, it's in Bowling Green. I played in Louisville last night.
Oh, you probably a lot quieter than usual, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, maybe Colonel Jack can start to tell us a little bit about what happens during Derby week. One time he would send me photos and give me nice reports from the Kentucky Derby. And Wednesday they start like a paddleboard race or something. Jack, what's the Kentucky Derby week normally like building up to the Derby?
Well, Kevin, we got to get you out of California and into Kentucky and Louisville. It's a paddle boat race. and it is a rear wheel paddle boat. There are one of them, the Belle of Louisville, which dates back to the 1800s, honest to goodness. And then the Cincinnati Belle, and then there's a boat from St. Louis that comes every now and again. And there's about 100,000 people lining the shores of the Ohio River.
100,000 people for a paddle boat?
Really? Absolutely. And then they, especially there's at the same time they have this race, they have their, it's not really a beer garden, it's a beer tasting, if you call it that. It's more of a beer drinking. And you can sit right up there and watch it. It's fabulous. All the distilleries and all, not distilleries, but breweries and come in. But it is a race down to 6 Mile Island and back, and they cheat like hell. And they bring tugboats out and move them around so they can turn quicker, and it's quite a fun event. Quite a fun event. That's pretty much the kickoff, and that will be tomorrow. I don't know if they're having the race or not. Does anybody know if they're having the race? I haven't really looked into it. I'm going to guess no.
Tom,
I don't think it's happening. I've been to it many times. I know that there was some. There's always some single barrel selections from some bourbon companies that happen alongside of it.
Yeah.
But we will indeed miss that, and so many of the other fun events that and parties, because we go to the parties for 3 or 4 weeks out, galas and everything to raise funds. Most of these parties that are pre-Derby are to raise funds for great causes too.
Right. It's quite an event. The Kentucky Derby Festival is kind of the umbrella for most of this stuff, and then Fort Churchill Downs kind of stands on its own. But as a local, I go back, see my high school buddies from Atherton High School, and my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews all live there. My mom and dad have passed, but they were there. And I got to give a shout out real quick to my grandfather, Lou Tingley, who in his wisdom went down to Churchill Downs in the early 1950s, and him and his buddies bought a box. And
nice.
Have it now. And we have a box that's the 8th one down from the finish line on the track. And I pinch myself every year. Good news is I have the seats next year. My brother has the seats this year. So I don't know how we're going to work that one out, but something will happen.
Well, we'll do a comparison between the infield between our two jacks. I think right now, because you mentioned cocktail and everything, and I'm sure, James, you're in the mood too, Jeff is going to make us a mint julep. You can introduce your official title with Woodford Reserve. And then our virtual happy hour bartender, Gabby, is going to make some sort of frothy Woodford Reserve cocktail. So, Jeff, what's up with a mint julep?
Yeah, so my name's Jeff Seymour. I'm based here in San Francisco, California, and I'm the Woodford Reserve brand ambassador for the state. I'm super jealous that you get a box seat for the Derby, but it's great that you get to go next year instead of this year, because it's not going to be as fun this year. One of the things that we like to do at Woodford Reserve and promote and tell everybody about is our $1,000 mint julep, and then we also have some that we sell for $2,500. These recipes change every year, and every single year we pick out a new charity and a new cause to raise money for. Woodford Reserve has been the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby since 2006. And over that time, we've ended up raising over $700,000 for various causes by selling these Derby cups and these derbies at the race. So this year is a really special cocktail that we're doing. We're going to be using blackberries, which is the official fruit of Kentucky, and this is going to be called the Diane Crump mint julep. Diane Crump was the first woman to ever race in the Kentucky Derby, and this is the 50th anniversary of her historic run. So we're raising money from our $1,000 mint juleps for the permanently disabled jockey fund, and we're donating all the money that we get from selling these cocktails and these julep cups in her name. So it's a pretty cool cause. So what we're going to do is, normally, the julep itself is a very simple cocktail. It's 3 ingredients. It dates back to the early 1800s, when it was first documented. But it's a sweetening agent. Most of the time it's either powdered sugar or simple syrup, mint, and then spirit. In our case, we're going to be making it with bourbon. So what we're going to do, we're going to spice that up today with a little bit of blackberry preserve. Just do a little bar spoon of that. I'm going to go down into the bottom of my julep cup. This, unfortunately, is not one of the $1,000 julep cups. They don't give me those, unfortunately. Maybe next year. Then I have just a little simple syrup that we're going to add just for a little bit of sweetness. I'm going to put that right in there, and then the official $1,000 mint julep is made with mint bitters that we make at the Woodford Reserve Distillery. I don't have any mint bitters sitting around, so some fresh mint leaves is going to serve perfectly enough. And one of the things about mint, and whenever you're making a mint julep, you don't want to pulverize or muddle the mint. What you're wanting is to get a lot of the effervescent smell out of it, and then you want to press the oils out of the leaf. So I'm just going to use the back of my spoon and just kind of press a little bit, get those oils released, mix it in with the blackberries that we're going to be using. And then I'm going to add the key ingredient today, our Woodford Reserve straight bourbon. I'm going to do 2 ounces of Woodford Reserve. And this is if you guys can see this, every single year we do a commemorative bottle from a local artist. This year we're featuring Richard Sullivan. He is a Louisville native, and he's a former Atlanta Braves baseball player. But he did this beautiful artwork that we sell only one time a year. This is the 21st year we've been doing these commemorative bottles. And finally, the key is a little bit of crushed ice. What I like to do with my juleps is after I get a little bit of ice in there, I like to agitate it a little bit. And I don't know if you can see, but already I'm starting to get some condensation going on my Derby cup. And if you do this well enough, you can get a nice frosty handle. Now, we are doing the Kentucky Derby this year in September, but typically when we do it the first Saturday in May, it's already super hot, so having a really nice frosty julep cup is perfect for the occasion. Right. I'm going to add a little straw in here and pack it down with the rest of my crushed ice. And then we're going to do a nice big bouquet of mint sticking out. I like to get the mint right by the straw so you can get those nice aromatics coming through. And we are going to garnish with a couple blackberries. So there we go. For this year's 146th running of the Kentucky Derby, this is the Diane Crumb Blackberry Julep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well done. Yes.
Cheers. Looks delicious.
It tastes amazing.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Technical difficulties.
Well, they always are raising great funds for great causes, and Jeff is such a talented guy, and it's always so. I get the opportunity most every year to go down when the Derby's happening, right before the Derby starts up, and see the mint julep being made. There's a tent every year at Derby. People can get photo ops for the $1,000 mint julep, and you see celebrities coming in and out of this tent. One year I saw Guy Fieri picking up his $1,000 mint julep. Got to chat with him. So it's great work you guys do at Woodford to raise funds for good causes.
If I could,
it's been great. Like I said, since 2006 we've been doing it, and every single year. So this year we'll sell 146 of these. Last year was 145. So each year in commemoration of whatever Derby race that is, that's how many of those will sell. And again, it all goes to just a great cause, and it's just nice to be a part of something like that.
And that bottle may become a collectible from what I'm hearing, because on the neck it actually has the wrong date of the running. I I hear it's already a collectible bottle.
Absolutely, yeah. So it does say May 2nd on all of these, and we had a call when when we first found out that they weren't going to be racing, or they were only going to do a virtual racing the day of the first Saturday in May, and they had already done a lot of run of these. They had already been sold, and so they just kind of held some back, and were like, well, we'll re-release them in September. So yeah, I mean, if you can pick up a bottle at a Bevmo or your local retail, I would definitely hang on to it. Don't open it, because I mean, it's just in the year that we're having, it's just one more thing to kind of hold on and remember.
Yes.
And if I can, another thank you to you, Jeff. The Woodford Reserve did a special bottle for the Kentucky Colonels this year, and
really,
yeah. And I don't know how many they were sold. I got one. And that's why it says Colonel Jack Tingley in front of me. I never served in the military. But I am a Kentucky colonel, and that's pretty important in Kentucky.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, thank you very
that's
much.
Amazing. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And
Jeff, do you have any idea how many mint juleps are going through during Derby week or Derby day, and how many barrels of Woodford they go through?
As far as Woodford, I don't know that number, but last year for the 145th, on a normal race day, they'll sell about 125,000 mint juleps.
Wow.
Wow.
25,000 mint juleps.
125,000 mint juleps. Now this year, I think, and
Wow.
you guys might be able to confirm with your boots on the ground, but I think that they're limiting to 25% capacity. I had heard kind of them going back and forth that maybe there weren't going to be any spectators, or so I'm not sure about the amount of people that are going in, but obviously we won't be selling 125,000 mint juleps this year.
It's a non-spectator event this year. It was originally 25,000, and now it's a non-spectator event. And Jack Fleming can talk about the infield, but there's no way that they could have let anyone in the infield, because it'd be impossible to. If something's happening somewhere, people are going to run to there. You can't keep the social distancing. And
Right.
Right.
Jack Fleming, can you kind of describe what the normal scene of the infield is? You told me one time it was "quote unquote" absolute chaos.
It is. It's a little bit like Mardi Gras, and if you're expecting to see horses, the only horses you're going to see are mounted police horses, or what's on the big screen. It is and normally in May, it's the coming of spring. And so every college and university for 3 or 4 states in every direction, every college or university is either entering finals week or they've already ended school. And so all the college students drive in, and it's just a big college party in the infield. I've been going since 1989. Not every year. I don't know how many times I've been. I'd say probably 8 or 10 times at least, maybe a dozen or more. But I lost count for obvious reasons because of beverages they serve in there. I couldn't even tell you how many people are in the infield. Thousands. And there's always a huge mud fight because there's a hose that's a garden hose that they just mud down the infield with, and then people are on beach blankets and inflatable furniture and inflatable furniture. And during normal times, coolers, and people are riding around on each other's shoulders. There are all kinds of hats, and when you're in the stands at the Derby, it's very classy and sophisticated, and a lot of money. In the infield, pretty much anything goes, and the hats included. And you can see people with hats that are 3, 4, 5 feet tall hats in the infield and so forth. It's a huge party, and it starts at 8 or 9 in the morning. I think it's a flat fee of around $65 or $70. And you just wait along, I think it's Central Avenue, in a big line to get into Churchill Downs. And it might take you a couple hours to get in. And you go through a big tunnel and you come through the other side underneath the track. And it's just people everywhere, porta-johns in rows that people run across and try to fall through. And people throwing bottles. And, of course, I'm wearing these Mardi Gras beads for obvious reasons, and you can connect the dots. But anyway, you can gamble. There are plenty of places to place your bets. You can cross underneath another tunnel in the track to go over to the paddock and watch the horses come through and things like that. But in reality, in the infield, it's just a big party. There's really no focus on the race, and every hour when there is a different race throughout I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, there's about 10 or 11 or 12 races throughout the day, and the Kentucky Derby actually runs, I think, around the next to the last race or something like that. And so everybody gets there early, and about every hour or so there is another race that takes place, and no matter what everybody's drinking, no matter what everybody's doing or wearing or not wearing, everybody stops and looks at the jumbotron and evaluates their bets and what they're trying to do. And then if they win, they stumble over to the sorry about that. They stumble over to the window and make their money back or lose their bets or whatever. So good times.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Kevin, I also wanted to mention that I have in the past attended an event in Hollywood, in Los Angeles in January that actually promotes the Kentucky Derby to the celebrity population in Hollywood. It takes place in the middle of January. It's usually on a rooftop hotel somewhere, and there's all kinds of, I'm talking hats and all kinds of things that go on with that too. So that's something else I've photographed and done in the past. But the Derby infield is quite an experience.
So
wow.
With the Derby being virtual this year for everybody, what are some of the things that you can recommend? And obviously, people either have already bought their Derby hats or I guess they can make them. But what other kind of things can people do at home? Sans, I guess, taking a garden hose in their backyard and and just getting muddy with a buddy.
Well, I know all the locals on Friday night go to the Oaks. That's what the locals do, and anybody can elaborate on that. And then Saturday, the Derby, most of the locals around Louisville stay home. They stay away from Churchill Downs, and it's mostly a tour or a Hollywood crowd or a celebrity crowd that comes out. But others can elaborate on that. So a lot of the locals in Louisville have their parties at their home on Saturday and invite their neighbors, friends, and so forth. That's my familiarity with it.
Yeah, and then on that, you're right. It's a lot of it's on Friday for the locals. Oaks is always fun, and then on Thursday there's this thing called Derby like a local. It's called Thurby. They've been doing, I think, for the last couple years, some races and some celebrations there. Usually Friday night, Thursday, Friday night are when a lot of the big galas are. Usually the only place I am on Friday nights, because we have to set up about 3 hours in advance, is the Barnstable Brown, which I think is one of the longest running Kentucky Derby parties. A lot of celebrities go through there every year. So we're usually at Barnstable Brown 2.5, 3 hours before the celebrities start coming. They make it set up, understandably, and then we're usually there till pretty late. But I really miss it. I miss it this year, especially. I miss it in May. I mean, it's always a lot of fun, a lot of energy expended, but it's always fun to see people you only see once a year and to really celebrate like Jack and I and all the other folks that have both Jacks that have been past and who have enjoyed it. And I don't know what the actual, just like everything during COVID, I don't know what the actual loss to Kentucky this year will be, but it is a major thing, especially for the Louisville area, hotels, restaurants. I mean, again, just so sad in so many ways that people can't come in, and not a great thing for the economy, but still wonderful that they are running this, and great to see people celebrating from afar.
I wanted to add to that, Tom. I went to the University of Evansville for college, as
did I. Yeah,
from Ohio, I drove to Louisville 100 times a year, and what I always enjoyed about driving through Louisville, and I have not done it recently. I will in about 3 weeks, actually, and I'll touch base with you on that, Tom. But
please do.
On I-64, where I-71 and I-64 merge in Louisville, there's a big billboard, a big digital billboard, and it has a countdown until the Derby, with days, hours, and minutes and seconds, and it's accurate. And I have no idea how it was run this year. If if they've updated the clock on it, or I assume they probably did. But I know in years past that thing runs from the previous year all the way down to the minute.
That's amazing.
Yeah, in that first weekend in May.
I wanted to ask Colonel Jack. We talked about this yesterday. And Jack, how many years have you been? First of all, and second of all, and we talked about this yesterday. You gave a great answer. What in the world is it going to be like at the Derby with nobody there? It's got to be just really odd.
Well, I can't even imagine no one being there. It is a people-oriented event. I think back 5 years ago, and you walked up with your ticket, and there was a guy sitting there, and they took the bottom half off, and you walked in. Now, us folks that have been living in California for a while, we haven't been able to do that for about 10 years. Well, now all of a sudden, 1 year, they had, the gates like you're at the airport. You're having to go through a machine. So it did change a lot. You ladies, you got killed. The jewelry was a killer for the ladies. You set off all the alarms.
Bummer. We usually do set off some alarms.
Different reasons.
And we thank you.
That's the point. Big attraction, right?
Yeah. But I think the thing that's going to happen this year is I think there's going to be a lot of small private parties. We were scheduled to go, and our whole family recommended to us, it's not going to be the same, so why come? But I think there's going to be a lot of small. But I think NBC is going to do a great job. I think right now. Thank you.
Thanks,
Liz. Thank you, Liz. Wow.
Yeah. Right now, Del Mar is running in San Diego, and the take or the betting amounts are high. They're over normal, and I think that's going to happen. You can go on to the Kentucky Derby Churchill Down website, pull up the list of horses, and just click on a button and bet. And that's not been that way in the past. So that's a big difference than in the past. Yep. So I think people are going to enjoy that part of it.
I wanted to add something to, going through the doors and the entryway, and this pertains to the infield, and this is quite humorous. It's a game of what you can smuggle into the infield. At least it was. I haven't been there in a few years, but I've got to.
Ashley's laughing. I would do my medicine bottles.
Yeah, it is a literal game.
Exactly why.
And the police and the enforcement there at the Derby. One case in particular, a woman I went to college with, her brother. My first time to the Derby was with them. They lived in Louisville. She lives in California now, actually in Orange County, or actually San Diego. I apologize. But anyway, her brother and his buddies told me a story where they smuggled. They all had got these burly guys, and they grabbed an industrial-sized trash can and put a keg in it and iced it up, and then put crab legs throughout it. And these four burly guys carried the entire trash can full with a full keg of cold beer through with all these crab legs on top. And the security were like, "We're not putting our hands in that." And they carried the whole keg into the infield and sipped off it. Otherwise, you're not allowed to bring alcohol. I've seen college kids, unbeknownst to them, bring in like cases and cases of beer, and the security will pull them aside if they've got extra staff, and they will pour each can out one by one into a dump.
Oh,
so kids will painfully have to watch their money go down the drain.
Right.
Well, speaking of drinks, I know Gabby has a drink she's wanted to make, and then also I want to make sure we don't let Andrea sit there in silence on her way. I'm not sure if you're in a cab or in your car, so I don't know, Kevin. You flip the coin. Are we going to do a drink from Gabby or a song from Andrea?
How's your time doing, Andrea?
her mic's off.
Why don't we do Andrea's song first and then over to Gabby? And
Hi, Andrea.
Because Andrea's a little bit limited on time and her signal might pop out at any second. So have at it, Andrea, a recording artist in Nashville, Tennessee, with that good old country twang.
Yeah.
We need her mic on.
Yeah, I don't think her mic is on.
And
Oh, she's muted.
I know.
Andrea, I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself on your end.
Thank you.
Well, that's the fun of live broadcasting, folks.
It's the microphone.
It was on earlier.
I think she accidentally hit it when she was readjusting. Why don't we go to Gabby and you make a cocktail? We'll go back to Andrea.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Gabby.
Hi guys, how are you?
Very good.
Okay, so I'm going to make the Derby Milkshake. It's 2 scoops of ice cream. So I actually have it prepared right here. I just put everything in a cup. That way it doesn't make a mess. So I used a vanilla ice cream. You can use a mint chocolate chip. And then Woodford actually has their own like mint honey that you can order. I didn't order it, so I just made my own mint honey at home. So you're gonna do 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream and 0.75 ounces of the mint honey. Then I'm gonna blend it today. So I'm gonna toss it in the blender. Then it said 1.5 ounces, but I'm gonna do 2. So I like it strong. 2 ounces. And I also tossed like a couple mint leaves in there because I do love the mint flavor. Okay, so I'm gonna mute just so I can blend it.
Whenever Andy can do a drum roll now. the making of
I think the player's gonna do that.
the anticipation of the cocktail.
That's what we got you for, Kevin.
Well, either that, or I think maybe for the future, when Gabby does the mixing, we should get her a little Bluetooth speaker so she can play that up next to the microphone.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing, that the Kentucky Derby, I've never been, but Jack's like, hey, give me some money for the some infield tickets. I'll grab a couple of girls and go. I put shirts on them. He put little shorts on them, and these 2 pub club bets went roaming through the Kentucky Derby infield and had quite a joyous time.
Nobody was looking at me.
Looks like Gabby has her.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Lots about me, but they were great. Danielle and Kayla, both from Indianapolis, joined me on that day, and they were an absolute blast. I knew both of them previously, and this was a few years back, but beautiful girls and just friendly as can be. And yeah, nobody cared about me at all.
Well, you took them Friday night up to, what is it, 4th Street, and you got into all the VIP parties with them, and they had these, they were beautiful dressed, and they were VIPs.
Yes, it used to be a big party time on. Somebody can correct me on this, but I think it was Bardstown Road. There used to be a bunch of bars, and it was Julian's was always a really popular destination, and everything moved downtown to 4th Street it's a closed-in street, and you pay one admission price, and you have about 10 or 12 bars, and I may be wrong on that, but there's a lot of bars, and you're just inside that arena of the downtown area for that night, and the bars are open till 4 or 5 in the morning, and it is there's no, at least a few years ago, I don't know what it is now, but it
really is.
What's that? Okay, and you could go to the bar that all the girls were dancing on the bar top and walking around, and there'd be dancing or stripper poles, or you could go to the country and western bar and there'd be a mechanical bull, or you could go dancing, or you could go to a bourbon bar and just drink bourbon. And again, Kayla and Danielle got all the attention. Nobody cared about me, but it was great, and we were there all night long. And it's a lot of neon lights, a lot of it's like the whole block is a club, but you've got your choices between country bars, bourbon bars, rock and roll, whatever you want, you can find it. And Friday night is an all-night thing, and then Saturday night is an all-time thing too. And in fact, that night I took them was Saturday night. So it's after Derby. We've been at Derby for 10 hours, 12 hours. And you go home, you take a shower, you get cleaned up, you put your club clothes on or whatever, and you go out about midnight and 11 o'clock, whatever, and you're there until 4 or 5 in the morning. And it's crazy.
So they sure
What
dress up
were you
nice.
grading there?
Wow.
Was that some chocolate?
What? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Gabby.
Oh.
So I finished the milkshake. I blended it, and then I sprinkle a little shaved chocolate on top. My chocolate already melted, so it was really difficult. Make sure you repent your dark chocolate, and then I have mint from the garden. Just top it off. I have my little julep cup here, and then 2 straws. And there you go.
Oh, nice.
Like,
Very
Wow.
lovely.
Lovely.
I used like a keto ice cream, so it's not as creamy and tasty, but you can use mint chocolate chip or vanilla ice cream, and then yeah, there you go.
Typical
Wow.
LA, the healthy version, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that, Jeff?
Cute cola.
I love that cup.
Thank you.
The cup that you put it in is really cool.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
And
I'll
I
be
like the
right
fact
over,
that
Dad.
you added an extra half an ounce of bourbon, and then you just poured a whole bunch more bourbon on top. So
You actually, I totally forgot about this. So you put cute cola on top, which is an organic cola. You can.
okay.
I used regular Coca-Cola just because I couldn't find the cute cola. You can usually get cute cola at Walmart and stuff, but I didn't see it when I went to Walmart, or you can order online, or it's kind of hard to find. So I just use regular Coca-Cola. But yeah.
Gabby, the bargain bartender, she always says, well, go to the Dollar Tree, you go to Walmart, you can get online here. She's always got the to get the inexpensive stuff.
She knows where the hookups, you know?
How you doing, Andrea?
Hey, I'm good.
Hey, you're back.
Actually,
All right.
probably have
Good to hear
to
you.
because we pulled over so that I could
Oh.
do this for a second. So you, thank you for having me. By the way, this is
Thank
really
you.
cool. Yeah, absolutely. So you like the song "The More I Twang," right?
Yes. Ashley, this is for you. I want you to listen to the words of this. Ashley's from Texas.
I'm going to. I'm from Texas.
This is for you.
All right. Seems everywhere I go, folks tell me they don't know where I'm from, but they know I'm not from there. When I get to popping tops or sipping something on the rocks, there's more that's coming down than just my hair. The more I drink, the more I twang. You can't hardly understand a thing. The more shots that I put down, the more down south of me comes out. Eloquence ain't my style, but you'll smile when I sling my slang. The more I drink, the less I think. The more I twang. Now I can do just fine, but if you give me too much wine, my draw will have all y'all at the beck and call. I don't even have to try, it's just who I am inside, and I can't hide it or fight it once I've had enough alcohol. The more I drink, the more I twang. You can't hardly understand a thing. The more shots that I put down, the more down south of me comes out. Eloquence ain't my style, but you'll smile when I sling my slang. The more I drink, the less I think, the more I twang. If you give me moonshine, a sweet potato kind, I still ain't gonna shut my mouth. The more I drink, the more I twang. You can't hardly understand a thing. The more shots that I put down, the more down south of me comes out. Eloquence ain't my style, but you'll smile when I sling my slang. The more I drink, the less I think. The more I don't give a damn. The more I drink.
Oh, Joy, I think you love that song for me. I always say, you only hear my accent when I'm tired or I'm drunk. Seriously, though.
That is so you, Ashley. That is your
I know, she wrote it for me. I mean,
That was such a cute song. I love it.
I did.
I heard that. I was cracking up. I told her yesterday, you've got to sing
There
that.
you go.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Andrew, a good one.
If I had something to raise to you, I would.
Oh,
Thank you so much. I hate to have to go, but I'm going to have to. But thank you for having me.
you'll come back and do another one. Thank you,
Thank you
Andrea.
for coming
Yeah.
in.
Cheers, Andrea.
And I'm also super impressed that you're able to do that well inside of a moving vehicle. So
I do what I gotta.
Not here for a long time. She's here for a good time. So, hey, right?
There you go.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jack, I wanted to update you. What you
Yeah.
were talking about on Bardstown Road,
Yes.
that's where I grew up on a street called East Avenue, which dead ends into a bar called the Bambi Bar.
Okay.
And you were talking about the Bambi Walk.
Okay.
And you start at Bambi Bar, and then you walk up to Kearns Corner, then you go up to the left field inn, and then you go to Diamond. And
Okay.
after that, I usually lose track of where we're going, but everybody,
Are there arrows or something like like on the sidewalk?
right, they're all local bars. Everything's a local place, and you go in, and it looks like a locals place in Louisville, Kentucky. And
Right.
And by the way, I got to congratulate Kevin for saying Louisville right. So
Louisville.
that's right.
I am from the South, Knoxville. Knoxville.
Yeah.
So I am from the South, not Ville.
So next time you're in Louisville, ask about the Bambi Walk.
I like it.
I did not know that. I just learned something new, but by the time I would get down there to the bars, I wouldn't remember much anyway.
Well, you got to go on Tuesday.
I
or
remember the
Wednesday.
ladies walking across the bar. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Well, Derby is 2 weeks long, and then the final week is like a sprint. But,
Right.
Tom, I mean, it is. It just keeps
No,
going.
you're right. It is. And then there's the recovery phase afterwards.
That's right.
Well, what Jack just said, 12 hours at the Derby, then going out at night, or being out till 5 a.m. at 8 a.m. the
Right.
next day. It must take a couple of days to get over that thing.
I don't recall ever driving home on Monday. I think it was always. I'm sorry, on
Oh, no.
Sunday. I think it
That's
was.
why you've gone so many years in a row. I don't think you would have made it otherwise.
Yeah, I think I went home on Monday. I don't recall.
By the way, I was reading that line when you're talking about taking the girls to the Derby and the nights out and dressing up and everything. And I know
Yeah.
Ashley was saying, "Okay, I'm next."
Yeah.
Yeah, me. I've never been. Yeah, me too.
I want to get all dressed up.
Definitely not. No, I tried. I was late. I was trying to get my hat to work, but it keeps flopping on my head and it's covering my face, so it just wasn't working. I tried.
speaking of Ashley, I just noticed, Ashley, that you have roses on your headband.
Yeah, it was my other option. I mean, I actually was going to put it on the rim of the hat, but then the hat didn't happen, so whatever.
So, what is the significance of the roses in the Kentucky Derby?
Great question.
Great question. I wish I could tell you the answer to that.
Yeah.
No, it's called the Run for the Roses. I know that. And as I answer most questions about Derby, like if you ask me where the mint julep came from, I'll tell you my mom said that's what it is. So pretty much that's what it is. My mom said it's the Run for the Roses and you drink mint juleps.
Well, cheers to moms.
Yeah.
Here's the mom.
Here's the moms, but I think, when you win something like a beauty pageant or something, they always give you like a bouquet of roses. Maybe that's what they were thinking. Like the horses deserve those roses too,
Yeah, they get a lot of roses covered on them at the end of the race. So
Yeah.
Well, cheers to the horses too.
I think they've
Oh,
been
absolutely. And the jockeys.
I think
And
they have
the
been-
owners and the bettors.
Yes.
Yeah, cheers to everybody. Let's just drink, right?
there you go.
And the hat makers.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever started that was genius. They sell those for so pricey these days,
I want to add something. It's not really a subject change, but it slightly is. One thing that's really amazing about Louisville during Derby is the airport. If you drive by the airport, they close an entire runway to all the celebrity planes that fly in, whether the Queen of England
Wow.
is there, or Dr. Volta, or whoever. And so an entire runway is completely shut down as a plane parking lot from pretty much Thursday until, Thursday until Saturday night.
Yep.
And which airport is this?
This is Louisville's major airport on the south side. I can't remember the name of it.
It's called Sanford Field. But what's interesting is a couple of years ago when my brother were using the tickets, I came and went to Kentucky, the Oaks. And I got on a plane Saturday morning in the Louisville airport, Louisville International, Stanford Field, whichever. And I got on a plane. There was 0 people in line for security. 0 people there. I got on a plane, flew back to Orange County, and able to make the Derby at a buddy of mine's party.
Wow.
Time change. So I got on a plane early and I was able to make it back. But you're correct. There are hundreds.
Yeah.
Not little planes, the big double-engine jets. And
yes.
It's quite startling. As a photographer, you had to have gotten some shots of that.
Yeah. I don't have any with me at the moment, but yeah, it's an extraordinary visual to be driving on. I think it's I-65, Interstate 65, and to look over and see just all these planes just sitting parked in a row, and very organized at that. Down
and as the crow flies, you're a mile away from Churchill Downs.
That makes sense. Yes.
Which is quite interesting. These people come in the morning, go out in the afternoon.
That's right. They don't even stay the night.
If I recall correctly, you went to an event specifically around those people a few years ago, like Into the Blue, I think it was, or something along those lines.
Yeah, and that's one of the events that, and I don't think it happens anymore. It used to be called Out of the Blue. That was
Out of the Blue,
Executive Aviation, but it was a lot of private jets that came in prior to that to celebrate with luxury cars. I mean, it's incredible. And usually every Derby, there's a new event. There's always the consistent ones, like used to be called the Mint Jubilee. Then it became something else to raise funds for a lot of great causes, the Barnstable Brown. But there's usually at least a new event every year or two that just celebrate something that's standalone. And that's always been fun to see, too. And just really the spirit of Kentucky, the spirit of, just the way we dress at Kentucky Derby. I mean, whether it's just a simple bow tie or there's people that do these really crazy outfits and hats. It brings out the best in everyone, and I think really allows this to be, the sports are important, the horses are important, but unlike any other event in the world, it really allows us to all have fun and have a little bit of way to, to have some ways to make fun of ourselves and just to have fun and put a smile on our face. And I hope that we do that online too as we're watching.
Hey, Tom, outside of this year, of course, do they still do what's called, I believe it's called a chuck wagon down on the riverfront and concerts and things like that? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. There's always been a number of concerts down on the river I think it's part of the Kentucky Derby Festival. There's the Derby and then there's the Derby Festival. And then there's an event called the Taste of Derby Festival, which usually happens 2 or 3 weeks before Derby, where there's all types of great cuisine from local chefs and cocktails made. And then the week of, there's one called the Taste of Derby, just for Derby, which brings in chefs from different horse tracks from across the country, everywhere from Santa Ana to Louisiana. And it covers the whole gamut. And that's always great, too. Usually there's a few celebrity chefs there. And all those events, again, of course, none of those events are happening this year.
Aside from the crab legs that Jack mentioned, and obviously I'm sure there's some hot browns going on because it's Louisville, but what are the Derby iconic foods? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Derby pie.
Yes.
A trademark. Chocolate and I think cashew. Am I right on that? Pie, something like that.
Something like that. To call it Derby pie, it has to be made by a specific bakery that has the trademark on that in Kentucky. Right. Another one is, in addition to hot browns.
Yep.
Is the Benedictine sandwiches or on crackers. It's cucumber and mayonnaise and some cream cheese and some hot sauce. And it's a really beautiful spread called Benedictine. That's another one. and just hoping you can find some food. I mean, you're going to find whiskey easily, but finding food's can be tough at Derby sometimes.
What's the name of the cheddar cheese spread? Pimento cheese. Pimento cheese.
Yeah, Kevin, how can you be from the South and hate pimento cheese? Pimento cheese.
I just can't.
Okay, I don't like it either, but my parents did, so I'm from Texas.
My mom would put it on
so.
a celery stick. Here, pimento cheese.
My mom would put it on bread. No, thank you.
You
can eat anything when you're drinking bourbon.
Chicharrones is so good, though.
Oh, if I'm drinking that much, I'm going to eat something like a big freaking cheeseburger or something. Colonel Jack, I want to ask you, Jack, Photo Jack has talked about the insanity of the infield. Can you compare that to what it's like to be in a box and in a more refined? I assume it's refined up there. I don't know. What's it like in the box and the grandstands?
Well, refined isn't the word I would use. You have where our box is located. There's a little short fence, and then you actually can reach over and touch the track. You can pick the dirt up off the track.
Awesome.
And so that means that all that dirt is now in your box because the horses are running all day long. The tractors are running all day. So you don't wear your best shoes, I promise you. Ladies, you don't wear your best shoes. And but what happens is that there's a tunnel that goes right in front of from underneath the track. It goes right to where the finish line is. So everybody tries to jump in there and be there on the finish line. So it goes from a pretty normal with the guys walking around with a $10 Budweisers on ice. They carry around the big ice chest like you used to see at baseball fields. And the guys walking around with the big ice chest with mint juleps. And they also bring around the lilies, ladies, which is the official drink of the Oaks. And it's not cheap, so don't complain. Just pay what you ask. And you get your 16-ounce beers for $12, and in the world of sports, that ain't too bad, really.
No, that's
a lot more. And
what is the lily cocktail?
People are very pleasant. One of my favorite memories is it's been many, many years, but I sat there and all of a sudden I realized ZZ Top is sitting right behind us.
Yeah.
In full regalia.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just going, you guys are ZZ Top. And they go, yes, we are.
Nailed it.
Had a good old time. But it was just weird. You turn around and there they are.
If I'm ever lucky enough to be there, do I have to dress like Tom or can I dress more like Pub Club Kevin?
You can dress like me. We won't let you in unless you at least got a collared shirt on.
Okay, I can do that.
That's my wife's rule. It's not my rule. That's my
And what about me with my Pub Clubette shirt?
Well, you would be a little surprised at how many people dressed just like you. But
you're certainly welcome in the infield too, Ashley.
Yep.
Thank you. I know Kevin would want me to wear the shirt, so.
Well, so we'd have to get another one because Jack showed me pictures of the girls, and sometimes it pouring rain. So those shirts,
wet.
And all the mud on it.
Tank tops get very wet in the rain.
Yeah, you gotta really. It's tough to. I'm going to skip that one. It's tough.
And welcome to the second hour, folks.
Well, it's tough to describe, but one of the nicest parts of it is as you look upwards, and the whole place is tiered. You can see behind James, it's tiered, and if you look over his left shoulder as you're looking at and look down, that's where we sit, and just above that,
under that spire,
is the third floor, and then you go up into the areas that are closed in and air conditioned and quite nice. Excuse me. Well, so
that's VIP.
The Derby Queen and her court sit right above us.
Oh, I mean,
girls are in these beautiful outfits, and they're always some sort of a dress skirt kind of an outfit, and they spend the whole day trying to be ladylike, sitting on the rail with 5,000 people looking up at them. Or 100,000.
Very long dresses like that.
Well, it's quite a challenge for these young ladies sometimes.
I can imagine.
It is. It's fun. It's amusing.
PG-13, folks.
If you can go.
Jack, are they like at Del Mar on opening day? They have the hat contest. Is there anything like that at the Derby? Or is just see and be seen, or what's that scene like?
I can't say that there's anything official that I've witnessed. I would imagine there is. There's kind of a self-governing contest on the Indian field with that.
Sure.
You know, I mean, you see everything, and people take pictures and show off and walk around. And so, I guess unofficially, to answer your question, yes, there's a contest of sorts for hats in the infield. Is there a winner? Hey, you know, they're all winners. I mean, you know, and you really see everything. There's, you know, and like when we were at Del Mar, Kevin, out in California, you know, some are as beautiful as those very, I would go with expensive hats in Del Mar, to just the most obnoxious of, you know, resin toy horses glued with lots of crazy glue onto all kinds of things. And yeah, it's a little bit of everything, from classy to.
It kind of reminds me of homecoming when you have the mums in Texas. Like you could be really fancy, beautiful, or really gaudy, and it was like one extreme or the other. No,
And it's all accepted. It's
just fun, you know.
That's right.
Whether they put train sets on top of it. I mean,
Yes.
people put together their own costumes, and people get the biggest kick out of them. And everybody's taking the ones that are homemade. People are taking pictures of these, and it's everything goes. That's the fun part about it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You have to realize it's like the first, like I mentioned earlier about the college students. You know, most of them have just gotten out of finals. It's the first real warm weekend or hot weekend that hopefully the sun's out to just really get out and party. And so people are all about showing off, and I mean that with the hats too. But it's just everybody wants to see and be seen and take pictures and be crazy, and you do literally see everything. You see expensive, really classy stuff, and you see the most gaudy, tacky, crazy, imaginative stuff too. There are no rules.
That's right.
Colonel Jack, Colonel Jack, what's it like up in the stands there? Is it, you know, as far as that goes, are people looking down? You can't really see in the infield, can you? Or what's the?
You really can't see the infield. In the last, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, they put a grandstand up in the infield that faces the track, so you really can't see the people. But on the jumbotron that Jack was talking about, which by the way, the last 5 years that was my brother's camera. Churchill Downs.
Cool.
Very cool.
He's retired now. He's older than me, and so I had to get that in. And they do. They run shots of the infield, and they try to do tasteful ones. But every now and then, somebody will sneak something in. I think the whole theme of the infield is what you can sneak in.
That's true.
Trying to get in, or once you've already gotten in, what you can get away with. Like he was talking about, they have running contests across the top of the porta potties. And,
What?
Yes, there will be a whole line of porta potties, and when I say a line, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but there'll be like 30 or 40 porta johns in a row, and you'll have these college kids, mostly guys, that'll get up on top and they'll run across the top of them. Well, these things. Well, first of all, they're drunk. And second of all, the middle of these porta johns are not structurally safe. So they're trying to run across them and hit the seam between every one.
Oh my goodness!
They're running, and people are literally throwing beer bottles and cups full of beer at them, and all of a sudden you'll see somebody just drop through a porta john. And there's so many people, you have no idea what happens to them. Like,
I want to give a shout out
Make your
to.
day pretty shitty.
I want to give a shout out to Pub Clubette, Kentucky Derby Pub Clubette, Danielle Hunt, who is watching the show. Hey, Danielle.
Hey, Danielle.
Yeah.
Hey.
Watching the show from Indianapolis.
I tagged her.
Carol Robson, Robbie Hutchison. Hey, Robbie. Jerry Swindle, Bama Jerry, Ashley, Bama Jerry.
Bama Jerry.
I know Jerry.
I'm still going to a game. I'm going to a game. Totally going.
She's going to, Jerry invited her to sit in a box at the University of Alabama football game with or without the Kev Bow. He said, as long as Ashley shows up, he doesn't care if I do. Kicker Kate also watching. So we appreciate everybody watching the show, and it's really fun, and it's great to have everyone on and experiencing. And I always want to know the contrast of like Colonel Jack and Photographer Jack, the infield versus the grandstands. Jeff, the Woodford is an excellent. This tastes like bourbon. Some of the stuff we've had, is this is bourbon. It's pure. Tom, you can explain to it more than me, but it is pure what I think about as bourbon.
Well, and I'm sure Jeff can tell us too, and I appreciate that, Kevin. One of the things I love about Woodford is there's some bourbons out there that I could taste them and I might not know right away what I'm drinking. I mean, would have a good idea, and some of them I would know pretty well. But Woodford has one of those signature flavors with the DNA of what comes off the still, what's aged and put into the bottle. That anytime I'm poured a glass of Woodford, it has that signature flavor. I always know it's Woodford. And that's one of the things I've always loved about it, that sweet caramel corn, those good barrel notes. And it's a bourbon that really there's very few that I can say that about.
You know exactly what you're getting when you drink it.
You do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just a nice
Chris
classy
Morris.
bottle, too. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that have tried to do fancy stuff or emulate other companies. And I think that, I mean, it's just from the simple logo, it looks like a branding iron, to the bottle. It's nice and classy, and you guys have done a great job at also keeping that consistent through the different sizes. I mean, the airplane bottles that I get on the plane are essentially just small version of the full size bottle, and that's it. The experience is as much a factor as the flavor, but you guys have both, so that's great.
Well, one of the cool things about the actual bottle shape, and I've never got full confirmation that this is the inspiration behind it, but whenever if you've ever been down to Woodford Reserve, so you kind of go through horse country to get there. And so after you pass these big stables and where they have the race horses, you finally come down to the grounds of where the distillery is. And the distillery, it's a National Historic Landmark, and it's the oldest withstanding distillery in the country. So it's been around since the early 1800s. And when you're standing in the stills, we have our, kind of picturesque, beautiful triple pot copper stills. And when you're looking at the back, and I don't know if it was where maybe, 100 years ago, they took out the original still, but you can see an outline in the wall that looks exactly the shape of a Woodford Reserve bottle. And it's very subtle. You wouldn't notice. But when you stand there and you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, that is the shape of the Woodford Reserve bottle. And so it's just everything that's in the bottle and surrounding it all. It's just so steeped in history. And Chris Morris, who's our master distiller, he's been in the bourbon game. Yes. He's a Louisville, son of Louisville. And he's just so steeped in bourbon history. And that was, kind of the forefront in everything that we put into the bottle.
Yeah. When you're not making a mint julep, what else do you like making with Woodford, Jeff?
I come from a bartending background. I was a bartender for 15 years before I came. And my favorite thing to always make with Woodford is the Manhattan. And I've always loved Manhattan. It's another just really simple 3-ingredient drink. And when you make it right with just, 2 ounces of bourbon, an ounce of a good sweet vermouth, and some bitters, I think it's knocked out of the park every time. And just the full flavor of Woodford. Yeah.
That's my favorite too. I love Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Another flavor profile goes well with Woodford too is apples.
Well, there's a lot of fruit notes, that come through with Woodford Reserve, and everything that has always turned me on to Woodford is kind of the attention to detail that goes into the entire process. And those apple notes and stuff, we have a proprietary yeast strain that we use that allows us to extend our fermentation up to a full 7 days. And so a lot of those fruit notes that you get when drinking any sort of bourbon is coming from that fermentation process before you go into the stills. And because we're kind of able to extend that at Woodford, it brings forth a lot of those apple notes, pear notes, apricot, and that kind of signature fruit that you get from Woodford.
And see, I didn't realize that there was actually a reason why Woodford worked particularly well. So I make a frozen apple cider that basically you just take some ice, put some apple cider in there, to put some Woodford, and blend it up and top with some cinnamon, and it just the Woodford seems to work better as a complement to the apple flavor than than another bourbon. So
It sounds delicious.
I know, right?
well, when this is all over, come on down. I'll whip some up. I just got a new BlendTech blender, and I'm committed to making it pay off.
There's your legit.
Sounds good.
So, but anyhow, this has been a great show. I don't know if Kevin, if you have anything else, or the Jacks.
Sorry,
have
I
anything else
actually
to
sent
add?
Andrea the wrong note. Well, I was going to send you a note, James. Colonel Jack provided me with some great Kentucky Derby trivia facts and information, and I sent you a link yesterday. I don't know if you want to put that up, but there's some interesting notes and history about the Kentucky Derby that Colonel Jack sent me. And Colonel Jack sends out a really interesting newsletter once a week for all his good friends. And he gave a history of the bourbons and history of whiskeys and history of the Kentucky Derby and all sorts of cool stuff. And I do want to say one thing about Colonel Jack Tingley out here in Southern California. Not only was he a All-American swimmer at USC and record holder in the 16-meter swim. 16 meters is about a mile. And that's, 25 laps against a 50-meter pool. So Jack is a very, he's a great athlete. And but what he loves to do in Lake Arrowhead, and actually it's going to be like, I want to go. Gabby's like, I want to go. Jack has a cabin in Lake Arrowhead, which is, I believe, where he is now. And he's got a pontoon boat. What he loves to do is what I call dock hopping, because he's got all these friends that have modified their docks and put bars on them. So Jack, just get in the pontoon boat. Don't ever say anything. Don't ask where you're going. Just sit there, have a beer. And Jack, we're like, we're going to go visit so-and-so. We pull up to a dock, and they got a full-on bar there. One time, one place, Howard, the local bartender, we had a party there. So Jack will go from dock to dock and dock hop. So he is a man that's done a lot of, I think Kentucky Derby might have got him in the mood for being such a fun individual.
Well,
I like that dock hop. I've never heard that before.
Great term.
Oktoberfest in Lake Arrowhead.
Yeah, we hope for it this year. Usually it's going by now, but it's not.
I know.
It's one of those years, you guys. Well, we're all sitting here virtual right now because of there's nobody going to be at Churchill Downs, and that's okay because we're all still carrying on the tradition. The Derby, this is the first time the Derby's ever been interrupted.
Wow.
And it really, it's going to be run, but this is the first time. It was started, interestingly enough, everybody remembers Lewis and Clark from the old days, like ancient history. Well, his grandson is the guy that founded Churchill Downs. And he got a gift of land from his uncle Churchill. And so there it is. That's basically
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. It's that simple. And that's one of the things that makes it all work. It's really simple. And, Jack, when you're in the infield, and Tom, when you've seen it all, it is such a simple deal. It's complicated, but once you get it, just go in and have a good time.
It really is. It really is simple. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of complicated stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a simple day in Louisville and hopefully it's not raining.
Yes. or your boxes right to a very large tunnel, because when it rains, all the vendors that got the beer and the mint juleps line up in the middle of the tunnel, and everybody comes in. It's like a bar in the middle of the tunnel. Everybody.
It has rained a number of times I've been there, and
me too.
It can be quite entertaining. Yeah.
You still have fun, but it's very undesirable when it rains.
Yeah.
So,
It is.
I've seen it both ways, and I've seen it cold too. I've seen it rainy and cold. Which is not fun.
With Jack Fleming, I think everyone gets muddy anyway in the infield, right?
That's right.
It may not matter.
There was a spigot with a garden hose on it off of one of the bedding areas in the center, and there's a kind of a muddy or a field area next to it, and it always gets muddy. And there is a massive mud fight, and I'm talking 500 people fighting and wrestling and throwing each other in the infield, and I would not let any of those people in my car at the end of it. They're so muddy. I mean, but it's fun. I've got some great photos that I've taken out there. In fact, Kevin, you published them on Pub Club. Those girls were from Santa Monica. This is probably 10 years ago.
Oh, and the yellow tank top?
Yeah, they had red,
Oh, I
yellow,
remember her.
red and yellow tank tops, I believe. They were actually from Santa Monica and were in town for the Derby. And then there was this other guy that was out there, that big muscular kind of redneck guy that wanted to fight everybody, and everybody was just laughing at him. And it was its own show. It was crazy, but yeah, it just gets muddy. And when I say muddy, I'm talking like 6-8 inches of mud. And I'm talking like an acre of land. If you know what an acre size, at least an acre of land is just solid mud. And that usually happens mid-afternoon.
Well, you can go to pubclub.com and see those photos. And they're actually, there's an article on there now. And then there's one under events called Kentucky Derby. And it's got several articles. And you can see a lot of Jack's photos on there. And as he described to me, it's quote unquote absolute chaos.
Jack.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with mud fights.
Nope.
We played mud volleyball in Texas at my college.
Mud volleyball.
Try to run around as a 5'2" person with like up to half my leg trying to play volleyball.
Nice.
And we do this on purpose, mind you.
Jack, you were talking about the mud when it's muddy and the track is muddy. The jockeys, they'll wear 4 or 5 pair of goggles, and then when the goggles get so muddy, they rip them down. So next time it's rainy, make sure you look at their necks and you see how many pair of goggles.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! I will.
I'll have to look at the jumbotron if I'm in the infield, because I won't be able to see them otherwise.
No, but you can always be a front runner because there's no mud on the front of the horse. The guy that came from the back end to win, like Mind That Bird did, but it didn't win that year. That would have been just absolutely covered in mud, and it happens at every track. So if you're ever watching horse racing, and it's muddy, watch to see how many pairs of goggles they've got around their neck.
That makes sense. I never thought about that, and that makes tremendous sense.
That makes complete sense.
I've been there in the pouring rain, and it's a miserable experience. You make fun, but I did not know that, and I learned something today. That's fascinating. I will watch that. Yeah. Wow.
And maybe that's why they have the bigger their hat. That's the less wet you get if it rains, right? Keep you dry like an umbrella.
Well, when it rains, those beautiful big hats that are this big start looking like your hat.
I know. It's so sad, y'all. Look, I try putting it on, and it wants to
Yes.
This does not work for me. Can't see my face.
Great fun.
So I didn't know there was the Oak Lily cocktail. That's Gabby just put the ingredients here: vodka, orange liqueur, lemon juice, simple syrup, cranberries, and blackberries.
Yeah, cranberry juice and then blackberries used as a garnish.
Ashley, why are you at your place and Gabby's a mile away? If I were there, I'd be at Gabby's place sucking down those cocktails she's making.
Oh, I'm about to. I'll head there in just a minute.
She's always welcome here. Got a full bar.
But Tom and Jeff, you've got to, and Colonel Jack, of course, and Jack Tingley, you've all got to experience the cocktails by Gabby. She's a spectacular bartender.
Look forward to that. That'd be great.
Let us know, Kevin.
Well, Jack can go up there anytime.
Gabby, are you in Louisville?
Am I local?
Are you in Louisville? Or are you in California?
No, I'm in Redondo Beach.
Oh, okay.
That'd be cool, though. I would love to go to Kentucky. Okay. I love bourbon.
Jack, if you've got an invitation for the 2 girls, I'll bring them up to Arrowhead sometime. We can have a dog hopping.
I love Arrowhead. I grew up half my life.
I've never been to Arrowhead.
So cool.
Arrowhead's a lot of fun.
My best friend has a house out there too. And a pontoon boat. So much fun.
It's all doable. Just Kevin's got to give me fair warning. You can't show up at noon.
Okay. What time should we show up?
Well, we go the night before. That way, when Jack is ready to go, we got to do the dog hopping on Saturday.
Okay, all right. Down. I'm down.
Good.
I have one for
I'm
Dwayne.
going to
I
be
know.
passing through Louisville on the 19th and 20th of this month. So I'll have to try to connect with you, Tom.
Yeah, please let me know, man.
Yeah, and if Danielle is still listening, come down.
And I also want to thank Andrea Goodman for coming on and singing not only My Oak and Taking Home, but I asked her yesterday and said, what better way to start off the show, right? I mean, I just thought it was awesome.
That was nice.
And then what I'm nicknaming it now the Ashley song. The more I drink, the more I
So
twang.
Ashley.
Yeah, it's so me. I say that all the time. I mean, I'm sure if you were to like listen from the beginning to now, you can hear it.
Your theme song.
I heard that. I was laughing. You had just left here like an hour before I had actually gone on our website and found that song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you won't believe this song. So that's Andrew
Right for
Goodman.
me. I mean, she didn't, but she did.
That's Andrew Goodman, a great artist. She'll be coming on another show with a couple other artists. I think James, at some point, will feature 2 or 3 or 4 artists coming on at the same time. Anything else anyone wants to add about the Kentucky Derby? I found out about it the first time when some guy emailed me off my website and said, this was years ago when I first started Pub Club, he said, "You're missing one of the greatest parties in the world, the Kentucky Derby." I said, "Really? That's a good party?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, send me some photos and do a write-up." That's when I first heard of the infield. I'm like, oh my God, I've been missing this incredible event. I had no idea.
It's definitely on the bucket list. Definitely want to check that one off sometime.
Oh, I have to go too.
Yeah.
I don't think
We should all go together.
Colonel Jack won't let me in the box after spending a little time in the infield.
Something to note for future years. You know, you get 4 weeks off of the Indy 500 normally. Right. So you come out for the Derby at the beginning of May, and then the rest of the month you've got the Indy 500 in Indianapolis, 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away.
That is true. Jack Fleming, what is the wilder infield, Kentucky Derby or the Indy 500?
Derby, hands down.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. No, I will make an addendum to that. I having gone to college in Indiana and my time at the Indy 500, I can't speak for the way it was 20 years ago. I've heard great stories from 20 years ago in the infield and the snake pit. I will say this though, the infield is much more controlled chaos at the Indy 500. The Derby is much more just chaos, anything goes. And like I mentioned earlier, you've got that first weekend of May, everybody's just fresh out of school. They're ready for the summer. It's a rite of spring, and it's just everything out there. By Indy 500, there's so many events through May that there's a little more controlled chaos. Also, the Indy 500 infield is so massive that it's so spread out. Whereas the Derby, even though it's a huge infield at the Derby, it's congested. It's very packed and saturated and packed to the max inside. So a lot more opportunity for crazy things to happen at the Derby.
Do you think we could grab Tom with your worst and oldest bow tie and drag him in the infield sometime?
He would be welcome in the infield with a bow tie.
My oldest. Oh yeah, no, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that.
He'd leave with some mud spots on his tie, but
I think I have in the past. I think it was 2009 or 10. There was a huge rain that year. It was really serious, and we had some mud as we walked away. But we got great video content. That's another thing. If people who are missing the Derby this year, if you guys are missing it, we have a large variety of videos we've done over the years. Just log on to our YouTube channel at Bourbon Blog. We've been so lucky to interview some great celebrities and capture some stuff, and go on there if you're missing it.
And then I think we need to wrap up because I know Jeff has another engagement in 10 minutes. So Jeff, just definitely thank you for joining us. Thank you for sending over the Woodford and
Thank you so much for the Woodford. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope everybody, I know this is a very different year to watch the Kentucky Derby, but I hope you guys have a blast this weekend and take some pictures and drink some juleps and watch the race.
Yeah.
We need to get together sometimes, Jeff. You're just up the coast. Gabby and Ashley are in.
Absolutely.
James and I are down here, and Jack's halfway between. He's in Newport Beach, and I'm down here, and we're down in San Diego.
I'm down in LA and San Diego all the time, so absolutely, I would love that.
Well, Jack just gave you an invite to his place in Arrowhead, but you better pack your suitcase full of some Woodford, right, Jack?
That's right.
Perfect. I'll bring enough for everyone.
Well,
okay.
I don't want you to be mad at me. I have a little bit of a bourbon collection, and you're part of it. The limited releases, but everybody gets a place, in Kentucky bourbon, and it shares. But James and Tom, I'll see you guys on your blogs. I don't know your blogs. I'm very happy to meet you through this way. Kevin, I've been watching for a long time. The rest of you guys, what a good day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.